Okay, I will call the meeting to order at 6:30. I'm calling the meeting to order because we need to reorganize the board. So before we start public comments, I'll take the liberty of asking if we can have nominations for chair of the school board.
I nominate Andy for chair.
Favor? Aye. Thank you.
All right, so we have to do the rest of those too, but we'll go ahead and do public comments first, and then we'll go through the list of the offices and whatnot. So we do actually have some people here with us tonight. So just a short reminder of the rules. We've got 15 minutes now, we've got 15 minutes later. If you have a longer comment, I'll ask you maybe you can wait until the end, so that if you go a little over, other people still get a chance to speak. And try to keep it to 2 minutes unless it's clear that you're the last person and you want to go, then go. So we've got 15 minutes, so it's 6:31 right now. So if anybody wants to share anything, come right up to the mic, just let us know your name and your street. Go from there.
Am I going to break this? Amanda Bover, 311 Beacon Hill Road. I don't know if it's on.
You have to.
It's,
Oh, you really have to talk into
You won't hear-
it. I'm not used to mics. I just use my teacher voice.
It's good for the people
Sorry.
that don't know if you're.
There we go. I'm here tonight, and I apologize. I wrote it out because I knew that if I didn't, I would ramble. So I'm here tonight to speak about a program, Missing My Child's Award Banquet, that's going on right now in the CAF in order to be here. But I felt that it was that important for her, for my youngest child who has not yet attended school, and for my oldest child who has been profoundly affected by this program, and for each and every student that has been a part of this remarkable class at the Hill School. I'm hopeful that the rumblings are not founded, but I cannot risk that they are true and not take the risk and not say anything. I stand before you with the plea to reconsider any decision to cut the ILAB from our school curriculum. As parents, students, and members of this community, we must recognize how influential and impactful this program is for our children, inside and more importantly, outside of this classroom. You are all sitting here faced with an impossible task of cutting $3 million from an already underfunded school system. There's no way to do this without directly affecting the students in a horrific way. Not to mention the lives of the teachers that are getting their worlds ripped out from underneath them that they have dedicated themselves to. Jenny Jones has personally created, built up, and grew a program including an unprecedented outdoor classroom, outdoor school really, that is unparalleled to any that I have seen or have been able to be a part of. I'm an educator of 18 years, and I speak from experience in the field and can attest to the fact that she is a rare gem and this program is a rare gem. What I wouldn't give to have this in my own school. To cut this program is cutting more than a special. It's cutting so much more than dollars in a budget. It's cutting everything that she has created to give the students to build themselves and create experiences and connections that have made them better people. Her room has become a safe haven for kids on a regular basis. She knows her students and loves them. This program has given students an outlet and confidence that is amazing. Through iLab, Mrs. Jones fosters creativity, collaboration, and interdisciplinary learning. Students are given hands-on projects and interactive activities, and not only develop technical skills, but also cultivate important 21st century competencies, such as communication, teamwork, and adaptability. These skills are not only essential for academic success, but also for the personal growth of lifelong learning. My oldest came to her with a lofty idea, and not only did she applaud him for it, she gave him the wings to fly with it and gave it a life in the way that he never thought possible. My dyslexic child was able to create, design, and physically build his creation. He was able to show the world and himself how amazing he was during a time that school was feeling next to impossible for him in the traditional sense. Mrs. Jones and her husband took their weekend to come help my family move these benches that he had designed and built. Mrs. Jones stood there that day without skipping a beat and designed a new classroom with him and let him run with the setup and clearing of a new classroom for the beloved Whistle Stop Trail. Being Mrs. Jones, she took it a step further and named the classroom in a way that would honor this build. And that is only one example of how much of an impact Mrs. Jones has through the iLab. I know for a fact there are countless more stories just like this. There's no easy answer. There is no way to make any of this good. No matter how you do it, it will negatively impact our schools and our children. But I must hope that you can see how devastating pulling this program would be, how irreplaceable the experiences are, and that the students are given through iLab and Mrs. Jones, because nothing compares to this program. Not in any school I've been in or have been a part of, and I've been around more than just a few. Thank you.
I've had a few more people join us, so we're in our public comment section right now, and we've got some time left. So if anybody that's joined us wants to speak, go right ahead and come on up to the mic.
Somebody needs a little courage, so I'm gonna stand over here. Okay, get your paper out, paper. Ready? Go.
Hello, my name is Kaden Dean, and I am a third grader at Pembroke Hill School. I would like to keep my iLab class. This year we made houses out of cardboard boxes for our nature trail, which I enjoyed. It helped me learn about being an engineer. When I am in iLab, I am excited. iLab breaks up my day, gives me a break from math and writing. I feel that iLab calms me down. We get to use robots, which no other class does. Miss Stones is nice, always there to help. If I lose iLab, I will be sad. iLab is important to me and my friends.
Thank you, Katie. And you did a really good job speaking really close to the mic, so thank you for that. Got a couple of more minutes if anybody else wants to say anything.
Hi. Public comment. I'm sorry, I walked in.
Yep, you can
Late.
just give us your name.
Sharon Eaton. I live on Buck Street in Pembroke. I just had some questions about the terminations for the teachers. I was curious about how the execution was, because we all knew that we were bracing ourselves for teachers to be laid off, but I was wondering like what method they were notified. Was it an email or through a supervisor? At what day was that?
So generally, public comment's not a question and answer thing.
Oh, sorry.
We're going to discuss some of this stuff in a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's something that we can go into or not, but if it's something we can talk about, we can get to it then. So
Okay,
just
well, that's
stick
the question I have for the board, so thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi guys, Lisa again, 4th Range Road in Pembroke. Just kind of piggybacking on what others have said about iLab. We broke the news to our daughter this weekend that there would be probably no iLab going forward. We sat and consoled her. Also a child who has deficits in reading and math. This is a program where she shines. She is a problem solver, she's a critical thinker, and this is the highlight of her week. Taking this program away is very detrimental to our children. I don't know what is possible at this point of making changes. I know that we did decide to keep our library, which we all know libraries are important. We're in one now. But the town has an amazing library that we as taxpayers pay for. And we have a great librarian there that does events with small children. They still have access to a library. So as a taxpayer, why are we paying for that twice and eliminating this very special program that doesn't exist anywhere else? I really wish that we could somehow figure out how to keep this program and this teacher.
Thank you.
My name is Stephen Fowler, and I live in the 8th Range Road in Pembroke. And I'd just like to comment on the dedication and hard work that you people do. And I don't envy you a bit for the decisions you're going to have to make in the next few hours or days or what have you. It's going to be tough. So that's all I can say.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. Looks like we've still got about 4 minutes. If there's anybody else that wants to give their thoughts.
My name is Pauline Ginn. I live on Bachelor Road in Pembroke. And I'm here to speak on behalf of my daughter, Jennifer Ginn, who is the teacher of iLab. Jennifer has taught in Pembroke for 23 years. When she was a child, she talked about teaching in Pembroke, and it's always been very, very important to her. The other day when she called me and said that her program had been eliminated, I wrote her a text, and I'll just read that. It'll just take a few moments. I told her that I found it to be unbelievable that this decision would be made. I told her that I was proud of her. I told her that she had developed and had given the town an inclusionary program where every child is successful and lends itself to developing strong social skills, problem solving, encourages possibilities, and every child is successful. It is not just adults that build communities, children build them as well. iLab provides a community setting for little people, and they cannot speak.
Thank you very much. Any others? Last call.
Patricia Fowler, 443 North Pembroke Road. I know this is a very, very tough decision for all of you, and I appreciate all you do. Try to keep the emotion out of it, but I agree with iLab. I have 2 grandsons who are at Pembroke Hill. They get more out of that than you have math, you have reading, you have all the things that are combined in that class. Miss Jones, just a wonderful teacher, and I implore you also to maybe reconsider her position and to keep iLab.
Thank you. One more time. Anybody else? All right, we'll call it there. And we'll move on to agenda item number 3, which is board reorg. I don't have a list of anything. Okay, so maybe to make this a little bit more educational, I'll call the position and I will ask the current rep A to give a short synopsis of what the position has entailed over the past year, and then follow that up with if you would be willing to do it again, and then we'll open it up for nominations. So the first one is vice chair, and that was Amy.
So I covered the meetings, I covered facilitating the meetings when you were not available, Andy. And I think there was just, and that was a handful of times. And then I think there was just one time when I helped with the, like agenda prep because you were unavailable for an extended amount of time. And I'd be happy to do that again.
Okay. So we have any questions for Amy and or nomination?
I didn't know if Amy was going to be interested in being vice chair again, and I know that Melanie had shown some interest in it, so I was going to nominate Melanie, not knowing that Amy wanted to keep it, but I'm nominating Melanie.
Okay. Is there a second? I'll second that. Great. Would you like to do that, Melanie?
I don't mind doing it if people would want me to do that. I will have a lot of extra time in a couple months when I graduate.
That must be nice.
Congratulations.
All right, Amy, do you want to say anything? You have strong feelings? either
No,
way?
I don't have strong feelings.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, then all in favor of Melanie being vice chair for this year, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, one down. And the next one is MVC rep, and that was Jean.
We had so much fun this year.
So, I don't mind doing it again. It was very tough. This year I'd been alternate for a couple of years prior. Meeting every week from end of October until halfway through February. So it was very trying this year. I would not be opposed to someone else wanting to do it. That would be fine, but if worse comes to worse, I'll do it again.
Okay, any questions? Any nominations?
I'll nominate Jean to do it again.
All right, any discussion on that? All right, all in favor of Jean Gauss being our MVC rep once again, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Next is MVC alternate, which was me. I took a significant step back from when I was the actual rep, basically attended the meetings that had specifically to do with the school, which is usually one in December and then 3 or 4 in the month of January. And I, of course, prepared the presentation. I'm happy to do that again, but if somebody else wants to get their feet wet in this stuff, I would still be willing to say I would either help and or deliver the presentation. If somebody else wants to actually go to the meetings and stuff, but I'm also happy to do the alternate in full.
I don't know if she's interested, but I would nominate Carrie. She went to almost every single meeting and invested her time.
You cool with that? Is there a second for Carrie?
I'll second that.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, all in favor of Carrie being the MVC alternate, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Cool. Maintenance and facilities, this was Amy. I think this one was fairly light.
Extremely light. I did not do a single thing directly with Josh. Although I am focused on getting our facilities to be more sustainable. And I did work with the school board and indirectly through Patty with the Deerfield School Board to submit grant applications for $200 million of funding to potentially consider maybe the purchase of electric buses. And I'd like to continue doing this.
Any nomination?
I nominate Amy.
Wait, is there a second?
Second.
Any conversation? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. SAU exec board rep was also Jean.
So the exec board meets approximately once a month, basically from, I think, Patty, what we started in August and we run to the end of the year. Nothing in March because of elections and town meeting. So once a month at the SAU office usually, and you're in with all the other representatives from the other 5 or the other 4 districts in the SAU. I did not have a problem with doing it, but I had an idea that Carrie might be interested in this. So at this point, I'd like to nominate Carrie.
Okay, we go with that. Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Right. Any
Oh, wait, I forgot something. You're chair too this year.
Oh, no, that's my team.
By the way. I'll share one of those. All right.
I meant to say that earlier. I wasn't, I did it before we voted.
All right, I'll take it.
Cool. Was there a second? Okay, any other conversation? All right, all in favor of Carrie being our SAU exec board rep, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we've got our CIP rep, and that was Jean also.
We meet during the summer, starting in the beginning of July, right after the 4th, and run through basically right up until September. So we go around to all the town departments, from DPW to Parks and Rec and Fire Department and PD and all that. And you see what their CIP plan is, what they're planning on doing this year, whether it is rebuilding a dugout down at Memorial Field, or buying a police cruiser, or fire coats at the fire department, so on and so forth. So you get a really good overview of what's going on in the town and what will be coming at the budget in the fall. So I've done this pretty much every year, I think, except for my first year on the board, and I enjoyed it a lot. I'd like to continue doing it, so.
I nominate Dean.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
I have zero objection. I think that's awesome. I just want to make the observation that I think it's really sensible. I don't think we need to make like a policy or a rule. This is just purely editorialization, that the MBC rep and the CIP rep be the same person.
Yeah,
I think
or at
that
least
just
the-
makes
yeah.
a lot of sense. Yeah, or at least the alternative, but I think the better case is the primary.
Yep, I would agree with that. Okay, all in favor of Jean continuing as our CIP rep, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, scholarship committee, this is like,
Can I just add one thing too, I forgot to say there? So in August, we'll be down at the DPW, and we'll be sitting inside the DPW garage next to the trash truck.
yeah. And if I remember from last year, keep your hands far away from chipper, right?
We had-
Oh, okay. PE scholarship was me, this is like a once a year meeting with, the guidance counselor at the high school, to talk about what scholarship money is available, who's applied, and hand it out. It's an easy one, kind of fun, because it's something that we get to do that's actually in the school, and we don't always get to do that stuff, so. I'm happy to do it again, but if anybody wants to do it, that's fine too. Questions, nominations?
I nominate Andy.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Manifest review, we usually stick the newest people with this, but we don't have any brand new people this year. So.
I nominate not me.
Has been Melanie and Carrie. I think everybody's done it. We probably all know what this is all about. Does anybody really like doing it and want to continue?
I don't mind staying on it.
I don't mind either.
I nominate Carrie and Melanie.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor of Carrie and Melanie continuing this guy?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? The AREA board.
I'd like to continue.
Staying on there.
I don't mind either.
So
We have Amy too.
I'll nominate Amy, Carrie, and Melanie for the AREA board.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? All right, NHSBA delegate, this was Carrie.
So this is a once a year meeting that takes place, well, this year it took place in Concord at the Grapponi Center. It's a gathering of all the New Hampshire school boards, a representative from each of the New Hampshire school boards, I should say. You vote in new resolutions, thank you. So it's one day, and it's kind of interesting to meet other people from other boards and kind of get to talk and see what they're doing with their boards and some suggestions. I don't mind staying on it, but if somebody else wants to give it a try.
It's, I probably wouldn't mind doing that one either. I've done it before. It is only one day. It is a Saturday though, usually. I think. Any questions or nominations?
I'll nominate Andy.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Negotiations, do we have negotiations this year? I don't think we're in between,
It's good to nominate, just.
right, just in case something comes up. So this has been Amy and Melanie, I think, for the past couple of years, right? You guys want to stay, or
I'd like to continue.
Me too.
is there a nomination?
I nominate Amy and Melanie.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Right, this one's gonna change a bit, but the Hill Expansion Committee has been Melanie. I know you've been seeing that project through for about 10 years now.
Yeah.
Um,
I would love to stay on it.
Okay. Is there a nomination or anybody else that really wants to do it?
I'll nominate Melanie.
Is there a second?
A second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
I
opposed?
will say that I am willing to back you up on that if you
Yeah.
have those times that are.
Sorry, I was just gonna interject that you're always welcome and it's a public meeting, so any board members can come. If there's official business to be conducted and there's 3 of you, we'd have to post it as a board meeting, but you're always welcome.
I was just gonna say, I feel like there have been, or correct me if I'm wrong, but sometime when you couldn't make it, Melanie, and I just have always wondered why we didn't have like an official backup position for this position.
I think there was one I couldn't make and Carrie went.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
and so like, I
Yeah.
feel like we should just make it official, you know, so that there's no question, like if there's a, you know, I don't know, like I don't want Carrie to be like, well, I'm merely like attending. I want Carrie to be like, no, I am the backup person. I am here for the board today because Melanie is not here. Do you know what I mean?
Do we want to do a backup or do we want to just
Yeah.
have 2 reps?
I think we should have 2 reps.
Yeah, I'm fine with either one. I don't want to put more responsibility on you than you were signing up for, but
Do you want to?
That's fine. I started this process. I'd like to see it end.
Yeah. Okay, so can I get a motion to, create a second slot for that and nominate Carrie?
yeah, I think we should do them separately, but I'll make a motion to create a second representative of the board on the Hill Expansion Committee.
Okay, is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, is there a
I'll
nomination?
make a nomination, for Carrie Dean to fill that position.
And a second.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, cool. We're almost there, guys. Policy committee, what's that asterisk for? Okay, so policy committee has been Melanie and Carrie. Except Carrie's name is spelled differently here than it is up there. So it might be a completely different person. We can't be sure.
Yeah, so basically you're just reviewing the policies that come out on the agenda, cross-referencing with a really fancy pool database that we now have, that you can see the school board association policy, seeing which one you're gonna adopt. Do we need to add Pembroke language to it? I really enjoy it. I don't know why, so I don't mind continuing it.
All right. And Carrie, were you saying you'd rather not?
No, I'm fine with staying.
Oh, you just said you didn't want to talk this.
I know, I was saying.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, I just don't hear talk, because I've talked enough, and I don't really.
Okay, is there a nomination then?
I just want to make sure that, you know, I'm not chomping at the bit. I just didn't want to exclude Jean or Andy if you guys are chomping at the bit to do
No,
this,
that's one of
otherwise
my
I
mistakes,
will
to be
go
honest.
ahead.
Yeah.
And, okay, I nominate Melanie and Carrie.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Right, and the last one is communications. This one has been, sort of stagnant. It's been Amy and I, and we haven't really done anything, but I think that needs to be a goal for this coming years to get a board Facebook page off the ground and yada, yada, yada. So I'm happy to stay on that.
Agree, and I would like to stay on it as well.
Does anybody else have huge interest? Because I won't fight you on it. No? Okay, then is there a nomination?
I nominate Andy and Amy to stay on the communications committee.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? I think that's it. Great, thanks, guys.
Can I just make a comment that's been made a lot of times now, and it's bothering me, I need to say this. Any decision about the Hill School is a board decision, and we haven't made any decision.
Absolutely true. Okay, so next on the list is agenda item number 4, which has to do with budget cuts. So, just in case there's anybody that wasn't with us last week when I made this same disclaimer, any discussions of personnel and or positions that are easily identifiable as personnel have to be done in non-public session in accordance with the law. So right now we're going to start on the sheet that we had last time.
Yeah, I just made 3 copies if someone didn't have it with them, and it's posted on the website as well. Yes,
Okay, well, copy please.
and then I have supplemental information. Does anyone need that? It was in the drive.
I'll take them.
Andy, can I just, the reason, I know we all wanted to meet, but the reason why I really felt that we needed to have this meeting tonight is, I think last week when we were discussing these cuts and then when we went into non-public and we were discussing, I think me personally, I was just kind of glazed over and kind of shocked at what we were being asked to do, what we were having to do. And I felt like we hurried to a decision, and I understand we were trying to, get notice to the teachers so that they could, 1, stop worrying if it was their job or not, and 2, to give those teachers that were not being renewed, that opportunity to start looking somewhere else sooner rather than later. But I just still have a really aching feeling that we just hurried through this. And I appreciate that. I know that the administration put a lot of time into these lists that we have. I just want us to kind of take a second and digest it a little bit more and maybe talk about a few suggestions that people may have that may get us out of some of these programs that we're looking to get.
Appreciate the explanation of the meeting.
And, well, I would like to say that I wanted us to have the meeting tonight because I think it's really important that we put out there as much information with as much detail as we possibly can about the personnel cuts. And I'm going to do my best to not, start blurting out personal information that is inappropriate to talk about in public session. But I think we need to make a public statement in writing that, at this school, this amount of this type of position has been eliminated. And at this school, this amount of this type of position has been eliminated. And at this school, this amount of this type of position has been eliminated. Because there's a lot of questions and concerns and misinformation, and like all of humanity since time immemorial, the worry is often worse than the reality. And so I want us, as not just the only thing tonight, but like that's one of my objectives for us tonight, is to talk about accomplishing that and getting that out and what it looks like and how, et cetera. And maybe we can do some of that in public session and some of that in non-public session. And so I just wanted to say that.
So to that end, because I thought maybe we were going to go there tonight, I took a really rough stab at just putting something down. So once we get through the materials we have, if you'd like, I can read that, and if you guys are comfortable with it, you can use it as at least a starting point, and then we can kind of wordsmith. But I didn't want to start from scratch. I thought that might be a real long conversation if we did. So
thank you.
Okay, Patty, do you want to go through the supplemental stuff? Get started.
So there were just a few outstanding questions from the last meeting that I did collect some information for you. One of them was whether the $3 million cut would bring our per pupil cost below adequacy. So Amber actually took the 22-23 MS-25 form that she submits to the state and put a $3 million cut into that form because it calculates everything for you. So in 22-23, our cost per pupil average was $16,885, and taking out $3 million from that would bring the cost per pupil to $14,817. And that is actually an over exaggeration of the cut because you would take out special education costs from that. She left it in just to do a worst case scenario to make sure that if we changed our minds about anything, we would have the full 3 million. So that was about a 12% decrease to our per pupil cost.
How do you want to do questions? Do you want to go as we go along, or do you want to wait till, okay. So, I'm not an adequacy expert, and, I guess that puts me in good company with certain state officials and many other people. I know it's a litigated issue, but to me that I'm coming from a state of ignorance here, so I'm not denigrating the information you've just provided, but to me that doesn't answer the question. So to me, this is like a yes or no question. So could you kind of dumb it down for us in terms of like, yes, it does, or no, it doesn't,
Sure.
or?
Yes, thanks, that's a great question. So yes, we are still, according to the state, able to provide an adequate education. There was just a lawsuit that raised adequacy to, I don't have the number written down, but it was over $7,000. That lawsuit was decided, but there's no money following the decision yet. So our adequacy is still, our payment is still around the $4,000 range. So we would have to suffer some pretty significant cuts to our budget to go below that. The argument that every school district in the state makes is what the state government thinks is adequate money is not. But for those definitions, we are within the ability to provide an adequate education. Cool.
And I guess to add a little bit of color, so this is taking our cost per pupil down about $2,000. We're already $2,000 below the state average last year. So we would be significantly under the state average. I would hazard a guess that would be in the lowest quarter in the state. Any other questions about that first question?
Okay, the next request was for Amber, our business administrator, to contact Dale or STA to ask us if we would be allowed to cut a bus from our contract. We have a multi-year contract with them for X number of buses. The board had considered and looked at changing the bus routes to meet the state standard or the state maximum of 2 miles or more from a school to change our routes. And Dale did respond that we would be able to do that and that they would be willing to help us reconfigure the routes to see what that looked like if we provided transportation for those families who are 2 miles from the schools. And the savings to the budget would be, for one bus, would be $68,400.
Thank you for gathering that. I think that was your question. Do you have any follow-ups?
No, I just didn't know if it was a possibility and something to look at.
Thank you. Any other questions on the bus question before we go on? Right now, we're just trying to get all the information here. Okay.
The next request was for Ms. Wheeler to look at the co-curricular activities that we offer in the district. So I have a couple of pieces of information. The first piece of information is the by budget line, the sections that Amber pulled out. And then the second part of the packet is information provided by our athletic director. So it's broken down by all of the sports that we offer, the cost per participant, and then it's the total cost of the sport. And this is just to note from 22-23 because that was our last completed year. So this year's numbers may be a little bit different, but that was the cost as of the end of the school year last year.
And just for everybody, this stuff will get posted with the board packet. This is all public information. So
Oh, and I didn't give you the number. Did I? Did I say the number?
Yeah, no.
No.
I'm sleep deprived, sorry.
I was gonna.
So the total cost for all co-curricular activities is $723,077.
Okay. Any questions on that?
Where it says cost per participant, is that cost to the school
per participant? Yes, so for every student, that's the cost to run that sport, yep.
And I just wanted to contextualize, some of the discussion in this, some of the discussion from which these requests arose occurred in non-public session, but I'm pretty sure what I'm about to say is not non-public. We wanted this information for informational purposes. We did not want this information because we have made any decision to cut sports or cut buses. We just wanted the information for our consideration.
Agreed. Any other questions or comments on this stuff?
In the packet here, it shows the sports and what, the costs are associated with them. But co-curriculars also include drama and band, so on and so forth. Are they included in here also?
The co-curricular activities are outside the school day. So any, there are stipends in here for our clubs and activities.
Okay.
But this would not include programs that are run during the school day.
Okay, so like band would say, we call that music, and drama would, okay.
Yep.
Those are actual courses, okay.
Yep.
Any other questions on these? Sorry. So, he says I should ask specifically about Crochet Club because that's apparently my favorite. Instead, I will ask what is a timeline for you and administration that you need final decisions? I know when it comes to personnel, there's contracts that need to go out, et cetera, et cetera. But on things like this, I understand there's probably a technical deadline, but when do you guys need for planning purposes? When would you like firm action from the board?
So the Department of Revenue and the Department of Education are really the people that need to be notified if we're not going to submit our budget forms. I believe Amber has a matter of a couple of weeks after the meeting to submit our budget. That being said, I asked her to speak with the auditors and see what their preference would be, because we could estimate and cut the areas that we're recommending and then revise them, or we could just submit it and then do line item transfers once the budget is submitted and we set it up in our system. They want the sections to match and they will flag it if they don't. So the 1100s, 1200s, whatever we submit on our budget forms, the auditors want to look at our budget that we built and see that we did what we were supposed to do. But you do have discretion over the bottom line. So I'm trying to figure out what's the less messy way to accomplish this in both bookkeeping and what the departments are looking for us to submit. So I know that's a non-answer, but that's logistically how it works.
Okay. So we may have to revisit this after our non-public session tonight, because there could be budget affecting conversations in there. But for now, I guess just general feelings of board members when we look at the list that was presented to us last time. And we know that some of those were things that we already saw in, preparing for the possibility of further cuts. And then the information that we received from the questions that we asked last time, where are people at with making use of any of these to replace any of these, or vice versa? Or are you good with this list? Do you have other questions that have come up in the past week? Just kind of, I guess we'll just go down the line and get a sort of a temperature here of what people are thinking on the non-personnel side. You want to go? I'll make Carrie go first. Melanie doesn't look prepared.
So I think I would like to see us investigate the bus situation. I mean, it's whatever, the 60, yeah. I mean, that's helps with getting closer to one more teacher that doesn't, I mean, I know it doesn't include benefits and all that, but like closer to that number of saving one teacher. And I also, and I'm probably not gonna be a big fan of a lot of people when I say this, but I'm wondering if maybe some of these co-curriculars, we could look at maybe doing half school responsibility, half family. I know that that limits a lot of kids, so maybe doing some sort of scholarship type thing. I mean, I just want to keep investigating these routes and see where we can find some more money.
Jenny?
Thank you. I agree on the buses. I think we need to, cut a bus and, you know, I don't know, work with pals, do some volunteer carpooling, do whatever else we can do. I think we need to reallocate that savings to, personnel. And I think we need to talk more about that in non-public. I don't I don't agree. But of course, I respect everybody's opinion and we don't have to agree on everything. That's, you know, democracy in action, which I appreciate very much. On the co-curriculars, I do subscribe to the opinion that there is just no just way to find the reductions. Which club is more important? How do our more hardship families find a way to bear the financial cost if it's a pay-to-play situation, so on and so forth. And the value of, let me put it to you this way. My 9-year-old just this morning told me, I still keep thinking about that rock show. So the value of drawing students to school for what comes after school, but then you kind of like teach them the academics along the way. I think that that's huge. So I think that addresses, and then I need to say, because we can't say it enough, I do think legally, the budget we're talking about with these non-personnel cuts and with the personnel cuts will provide a legally adequate education. But I don't think it's an adequate education. And I don't think it's the education that this board wants to provide this student population. And this is a horrible, horrible situation that this board is in. And I'm not in favor of any of these cuts. But at this point, as a board member, I have to make decisions that are, you know, bad or less bad. And so that's why I'm saying whatever I said before.
I will say much of what you said in the latter part of that statement, as far as, you know, none of us wanting to make any of these, is included in that sort of template statement that I drew up. So I think we're all on the same plane there. Jean?
Yeah, I'm definitely on board with the buses. I was also looking at, I think there's only 2 of them. We've got indoor and outdoor track and fall and winter spirit. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, was one of those spirit seasons created recently? It had been a club and then. So I don't know the answer. Okay, that's something I remember having some sort of presentation at some point, but anyway, I mean, one of the things, popular as it may be, you know, maybe reducing those sports to 1 season, whatever their big season is. It's a, you know, in regards to the whole budget, it's a very small amount of money, but again, going possibly to saving a teacher, that might be something we could look at. The other thing, common theme tonight seems to have been, and I'll put Ms. Gary on the spot here. Kind of it was coming, but You know, people had commented concerning the iLab at Hill School. What part of the iLab can be retained by, or how much of it can be retained by the digital learning, right? Digital learning special,
Is this fair game or is this lame?
is this, sorry.
The only reason I'm hesitating is because we have just notified staff. We are still talking about what all of this means next year, and I don't think
Okay.
we've made all the programmatic decisions yet. And that's
Sorry.
the only reason I would hesitate. I don't want to speculate or
Fair enough,
say things that end up don't happening.
fair enough.
No, no worries. Go ahead, Mary.
So I agree with the buses and spent a lot of hours doing GPS stuff to keep my brain busy. I know there's not a lot of bids, but I'm glad that we have them out. I know it's not going to be easy, but I think as a community, we can do this. There's several on different bus stops that are within the mile radius, and that's 68,400 per bus. And I'd rather that go towards personnel if we can work with the bus company to figure out how to make it happen.
Good. My thoughts, I guess, initially, I'm definitely in favor of at least investigating the bus situation if we can, as quickly as possible. And if, if our people here work with Dale and feel that, I'm not sure I would be comfortable taking it all the way out to 2 miles from the school, but it kind of sounds like maybe from this brief statement, maybe there's a little wiggle room there. Honestly, if we were talking about a school in the village, I might feel differently, but there's a lot of people that live close to Hill School that don't have sidewalks or anything, so I'm a little bit hesitant there. But I would love to see us, as quickly as we can, go down that road, and if Dale can give us a creative solution that includes, more kids than we thought it would, then I'd be in favor of that as well. I don't want to say I'm 100% yes, let's do it, but I think we should do as much due diligence as we can in a reasonable time frame. The co-curriculars are a real tough one for me. I'm the one that asked for the information, and being that the staff cuts have been taken care of already, the urgency of this question goes down a little bit. But I think more what I'm struggling with is, as I said last week, we are an educational institution first, right? So that needs to be our focus. But Dr. Morris also brought up some very good points about people who come to school because of this, take pride in their school because of these activities, may not even come to the school and thereby decrease revenue if we didn't have these programs. And I definitely see that side of it too. I think my struggle right now, and the reason that I may be backing off of my previous position of pushing harder to cut some of this, is that I can't find an equitable way in my head to pick and choose which stuff should go away. I'm looking at this list, and there are a small handful, 3 maybe, that are what I would say significantly more expensive than others. But I'm not sure that's a fair way to look at it. There are obviously a few that are the highest on the list is cost per participant. But then I feel like you're punishing kids just because their sport's not popular. And as the father of somebody that plays an instrument as obscure as the bagpipes, I don't want to punish people for doing stuff that's unique. So I feel like the situation then is, we want to save $750,000 and cut all of it, or don't we? And to me, in my mind, I guess that's where it would really cross the line that Dr. Morris was talking about and Mr. McCarthy were talking about last time. If you completely wipe out these programs from our school, the pride and the reason that some of these children come in the first place is completely taken off the table. So I'm not going to say I couldn't be swayed to find some money in here, but my conscience doesn't let me say, yes, this sport is important and that one's not so important. I don't know how I would do that. And if it came to, we have to cut absolutely all of them or none of them, I think I would side with none of them. So That's not really, and that's a non-answer too, I guess, but that's how I feel right now.
Can I add something that I forgot to say? The 68,400 from cutting one bus. Plus, we talked about, previously, hitting up our instructional materials trust fund, which has approximately $95,000 in it. And we talked about it. We didn't make any decisions. And that was part of our, homework, was to consider that further. And so just reporting back on where we're at right now, to complete my thought, that 68,400 plus some or a significant amount of that instructional materials trust fund being used to buy materials that were proposed to be cut, and then that freeing up funds that could be used for personnel, I think could go a long way towards getting back, towards fully funding one of our teacher positions. So I don't think 68.4 fully funds a teacher position when you account for all the benefits and everything. So I'm sorry, I forgot to make that point, but I just wanted to add that in.
Yeah, actually, that brings something up in my head too. I wonder, is when Dale said 68.4, is that for next year? Meaning, I assume there's going to be a price increase next year, and that's taking that into account? Okay, so that's a real number then. Okay, I was afraid they were talking about 68.4 in this year's money, and wouldn't be the case for next year's dollars.
That's the number that Amber gave me, so I'm assuming that she looked at the contract. I can double check that for you, but that's what she said the savings would be.
Okay.
If we can circle back to the question, but we did say we were gonna, I don't think it's giving any names or anything, so I don't think it's non-public, but how the staff was notified, because I know that that's been kind of, unfortunately, a hot topic on the Facebook page, that some were sent an email, some were talked to personally, so just if you could just kind of.
There was absolutely no one notified by an email. I don't mind talking about the process at all. There's nothing secretive about it. We had conversations about how we would approach staff, and I don't think I can convey the way our buildings.
Patty, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but can you not even say things like can you identify like the administration?
Sure.
I just, because it's such a hot topic, I want to talk about it with lots of specifics.
No problem at all. So everything was done as with me and the principals, just the four of us. We had conversations about how we would approach staff. And, again, like the board has said, we didn't want to approach any staff members, but we had no choice. So we talked about whether we call people to the office, whether I go walk into the building with them, whether they come to my office, and wanting to approach people in a way that would minimize this horrible news that we were about to deliver. The principals thought that the best approach would be for them to go to the teachers' classrooms. So they, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, we've debriefed and talked about it, and I'm pretty sure that's how all of it, every staff member was notified, was that the principal, in addition to a representative from the teachers union, we asked them to come, be support for the staff members, and they went to classrooms and sat with staff and notified them. And handed them a letter from me so they would have it in their hand, and then I mailed them once I was told everyone was notified. Okay, Wendy said clarification, she was in her office. Half and half for Three Rivers, thank you.
Half and half, meaning half in your office versus the teacher's classroom.
Case by case basis.
But all were in person.
Absolutely.
Can I
Yes.
just make a comment? And I'm not blaming anybody, and I'm not trying to say this meanly at all, but hopefully this never happens again. But I hope Patty and the principals, this ever happens again, can try to find maybe a better way. I don't know how each school did it. Wait till Friday when the kids leave the building, so that these teachers are human, and they should have had the weekend to process and not have to go back to their classroom with children in it. And that's the biggest feedback that I have heard. And I feel horrible that children saw teachers breaking down. And I hope that doesn't sound mean, but if this ever happens again, if we could just be mindful of the day of the week and the time and try to keep the children out of it. Sorry.
No, I mean, we talked about the days and the ways and we wanted to deliver this news and have it be done, honestly. And if we had tried to grab staff members after school on a Friday, that's not an easy task to talk to all of the people that we needed to talk to without them leaving the building. But that is great feedback, and I can certainly understand that. Yes, we've never had to do this, and we've never had to have these conversations with this many staff all at once, and we tried to plan it out in the best way that we could. I'm sure there are better ways, for sure. Thank you.
I guess I'll just say, and I think on behalf of all five of us, that we appreciate how difficult that was for all of you. Certainly don't envy that position, but we appreciate the work that the three of you, the four of you have done through this whole process. I know that it's been not fun at all, and that I'm sure there was many, many other things you would have rather been doing, but we appreciate that you put in the hard work. Anything else on, like I said, I think after non-public, we may want to come back to some of this and see if we can make at least some decisions tonight.
Well, before we leave the topic, I would like to talk about making a public statement quantifying cuts, personnel cuts.
So I will say that quick thing that I wrote up doesn't have the numbers in it because I didn't have the list in front of me and I didn't want to guess. So, but if you want, I can read this. Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, I think a vote strategy would be good. This number of paraprofessionals, this number of certified teachers for a total of this amount of money. I mean, the maximum amount of information, in my opinion, is the best amount of information.
Can I,
before you, without getting to a level of specifying, where we can identify human beings.
So I would just want to clarify what we did was try to minimize the impact. So I just want to make sure as you're reading through saying cuts, it's not necessarily a person. So we had a couple of positions that were vacant that won't be filled. I think if we go through this list and talk about the number of people, it's going to seem like more people than we actually had.
And I'm keeping that line between non-public and not non-public forefront of my mind, but I don't think that it is non-public information that, every school in the state of New Hampshire every year goes through a process of determining which of our teachers are going to retire this year, which of our teachers are not going to retire and come back next year, and which of our teachers are not going to come back next year. And so there are those three categories of teachers every year. And in addition, we have had to make, budgetary cuts, a reduction in force. And so we have sort of, in my mind, 4 categories that we need to be talking about. So yes, to your point, and that's part of what I want to include in our statement is sort of clarifying all of this so that people have, credible, quantifiable information.
Agreed. And I'm going to take this opportunity to, I don't want to call it soapbox, but I'm going to put my budget hat back on for a minute because I just want to explain something. One of the comments and feedback that I've seen a lot in the past week or so has been that we are somehow being less than transparent or purposely misleading when we use the word cuts. And that this, because $3 million was taken out, and that's roughly the same budget number that we had last year, we shouldn't say cuts. We should call it flat funded or something like that. So I just want to explain my perspective on that. And I think that the people on the municipal budget committee would probably agree from conversations I've had with them in the past. But so I'm just going to lay out a really quick example with super easy numbers. If let's say I'm a single person, I make $100,000 a year. That's how much money I actually bring home. And my bills and everything, every time I go out to eat, everything, also happens to equal exactly $100,000 every year. So at the end of the year, I'm flush, and when I get my next paycheck, I'm right back in business, okay? If next year, my taxes go up $5,000, and my electric bill goes up, and groceries get more expensive, and my costs for that year are now $110,000, and I don't get a raise at my job, I still make $100,000. I am going to have to find places in my personal budget to cut things out. I'm going, whether it's trips to the movies or whatever else, the amount of money that I have discretion over how I spend is in fact being cut. And that's the situation that we're in now. Our costs for next year, almost exclusively through no increases that were put into the budget this year. What I mean by that is mandatory special ed costs, transportation costs, contractual obligations to our teachers that the town voted in last year, contractual obligations to our paraprofessionals that the town voted in just last week. These prices are going up next year. So if the amount of money that we are appropriated to pay those things does not go up accordingly, then we do have to cut our budget. And that's where the positions and the people and the programs and the money and supplies and things, that's where it's going. This is a cut in every sense of the word. So I just wanted to clarify that from a budgetary perspective. So I don't know what the best way is to do this. I don't know if we want to wordsmith this whole entire thing, but I'll read you what I wrote, and I'm going to leave out 1 or 2 paragraphs because I ran this by somebody else and they were like, yeah, don't write that. So it won't be exactly what I have, but you'll get the gist. So, and for anybody watching at home, or for you folks, this is just something that came out of my brain. So this is not an official statement by the board yet. So I wrote, the Pembroke School Board has had the unfortunate responsibility of reducing staff in light of the substantial budget reduction passed at the school district meeting. While we cannot discuss specific personnel, we do wish to provide the community with an overview of the impact of these cuts. At Pembroke Hill School, X number of teaching positions and X number of paraprofessional positions have been cut. At TRS, X and X. At Pembroke Academy, X and X. There are also cuts in other areas that will be made public when it's appropriate. In practical terms, some of the resultant changes will be larger class sizes and the possible loss of some programs or electives. As you've probably seen by now, there's also non-personnel cuts. One thing that this is preemptive, but it's one thing that's on the list. So again, like you said before, not final, but $25,000 of maintenance at each building has been listed. This will put us in a position this will put us behind. We'll either need to appropriate additional funds to catch up in future years or risk our buildings falling into disrepair. The future effort to build or renovate the Pembroke Hill School could be up in the air. Discussions on that topic will be held soon. The board would like to stress that all of these cuts will be impactful. All of these positions and programs were in place for good reason, which is why they were included in next year's budget to begin with. The board worked with administration to decide what programs and positions to cut, and we focused on things that were above and beyond state requirements, as well as trying to spread out the impact on overall grades. Again, I want to stress that this board believes that there is value in doing more than the minimum set by the state. We do not support the new class sizes at Hill School. And in fact, we have a policy that runs contrary to those class sizes. We believe that providing additional time to students to work on reading and writing by having separate ELA and literature, while considered extra maybe by state standards, is very beneficial to our students. This board, and we believe this district, do not believe in doing the bare minimum. However, the constraints of the approved appropriations left us no choice but to take away some of those items that could be listed as above and beyond. The board would like to thank the staff who won't be returning next year for their service to the district. I haven't put a closing on it yet, but that's the general idea.
I would like to, I think that all sounds great. I think we should specifically clarify the types of cuts that as we just talked about. So, and I think specifically we should quantify per school the number of people retiring and the number of people reduction in force, so cut. And then I think we should just make a non-quantified, not school-specific statement that, as always, however you want to word it, and I would suggest you work with Patty on this, some teachers will be non-renewed. And that those positions are not being replaced. And that is also how we get to this bottom line of 2 whatever million. And I think we should quantify per school, as Carrie has calculated, the monetary amount of the cuts to illustrate the relative equity. So I think you sort of were intending to have those numbers in there.
Yeah, not quite that specific, but I see where you're going.
Thank you for putting that.
Thank you for putting that together.
One of the things that we need to think about, and I'm not sure, it just occurred to me, when we're talking about the quality of the cuts and the amounts per building, I'm just thinking about the staff in those buildings, because it may seem that, well, this school cut $200,000 more than that school, but you have teachers on different steps and scales, and their total compensation is very different. So I'm just thinking about a way to include that.
I think we should just sort of make a sentence that says almost exactly what you said. That there was never a way that this was going to be exactly equitable, I think, Andy, do you feel like you can say that?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. What's going through my head right now is the best way to do this that's not gonna break meeting requirements and yada, 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 because I feel like this is something that we should have out fairly, though we do have a meeting again next week, right? Because we're out, okay. Okay, that's probably okay then. I will try to craft something, share back and forth between Patty and I, make sure she's comfortable on the, disclosure end. And then I'll bring it next week, written out, copies for everybody, and then if anybody wants to make last minute tweaks, we can do that and then get it posted.
So do you want me to go through what I have in front of me, the totals, or are we gonna wait till we have a?
Do you want to email it to me?
Yeah.
Or I can take a picture after the meeting.
Well, I can definitely email it to you. I just think there's probably, I don't know, as there was haste last week to find out, I think there's also, people want to kind of know what.
Yeah, I'm just not sure how much, because there's final decisions, at least on the non-personnel side, that aren't made yet. So I'm not sure how much confidence we can put behind those numbers yet. And one thing that I learned during COVID is that it makes me uncomfortable as chair to have to sort of go back on our word, which I try really hard not to do. But there were times during COVID that it was like, somebody panicked, we're going to post a meeting, and then it's like, oh no, wait, we're not going to have that meeting because there's not enough of us, and I didn't check that we had a quorum first or whatever. So I'm just trying to make sure that we do things procedurally so that we don't get ahead of ourselves and have to come back later and say, oh, just kidding, sorry about that, sort of things. All right, any questions on any of this, anything that we've seen here budget-wise so far tonight? I try to find
As a member of the communications committee of this board, I did wonder if this statement might be the first post on our Facebook site.
I would say I'm not confident that we can have Facebook set up that quickly, but I don't think it should take a lot longer than that. I think we should get this out as soon as we can. But I can certainly, if Josh is available, I mean, I don't know what.
Set up an email address for you to use for our Facebook page, so it's really.
Okay, yeah, so I'll reach out to him this week and get
Set
that
up the
going.
account.
If it's not quite done by Tuesday, we'll get this posted, but then, yeah, we can definitely put it there too, so. Great idea, we'll write it down. And I guess on that topic, I will want to have another conversation. I know we had a brief conversation back when we first started discussing this, but we'll want to have another conversation on a fairly what's the word for recent, but in the upcoming, fairly soon meeting, you know what I'm trying to say? Sorry. So yeah, sure. About the function of that, I think that I will probably have the password to begin with, so I want to be very clear on what expectations are from all of us on what gets posted and what doesn't. I think some of that is obvious, but some of it may not be, so we should talk about that again. One last call for anything before we go into non-public. Okay, so before I read all the words, I will say, I don't have any idea how long this non-public session is gonna last. It could be 10 minutes, it could be an hour and a half. As always, everybody is welcome to stay outside, the door will be locked, yada, yada. We will come out and check to see if anybody hung out after we're done. And unlike last meeting, it is possible that we'll do some business after non-public. I'm not gonna promise you that we are, but I just wanted full disclosure. There could be things, and again, there will be another opportunity for public comment after non-public as well. So you're certainly welcome to pull up a chair somewhere or whatever. But for now, we will have to ask you to leave because the board has need to go into non-public session in accordance with New Hampshire RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, small letter C, which is matters which if discussed in public would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of the board. Should we also do A? Yeah. And small letter A, the dismissal, promotion, compensation, or disciplining of an employee, or the investigation of any charges against them. On a roll call vote to enter non-public at 7:46 PM, Melanie?
Yes.
Dean?
Yeah.
Amy?
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So give a break.
So, for stuff like that. And just wondering if any research had been done on that basis.
You guys want me to, is it okay if I respond? So I can share that we do look for and routinely get grants in many different areas. I'll say that can be a bit of a double-edged sword in that if you have that grant money, you fund something with it, and then later that grant doesn't exist anymore, then you either have to get rid of that thing or put it in the budget, in the real budget for the following year. But yes, we do that actively. And Ms. Manzelli has been inquiring with a major solar contractor. It's in the extreme early stages. In fact, I'm not even sure if everybody on the board knew that happened. So, you know, super preliminary, but we do intend to have a representative come in and talk to the board. So it's something that we're, obviously it's not something that would be in place to help next year's budget, but it's something that we're considering. Do you want to add any color to that?
No, just
Hold on. Keep your eye on the agendas, keep participating. You know, the best way to keep informed on the school board's efforts to achieve long-term cost savings for the taxpayers is to come to meetings and just stay tuned with what we're up to, because we are trying to make our best efforts at that. And Andy has asked me to propose a date when a representative from Revision Energy is the company, can come and talk to us about opportunities that the school district has. And I think it'll probably be in April, but we're not sure yet.
Any other public comments? Okay, we'll move on, and we're just about done. I just want to say, actually, that reminded me. This probably should have been done in non-public, but I don't need to talk about the reason. I'm wondering if we could possibly move our scheduled April 16th meeting to be Tuesday, April 30th instead. And without disclosing too much, this has to do with previous business that was scheduled but unable to be completed.
To non-public meeting.
Yeah, yeah. So check your schedules, get back to me. It doesn't have to be an answer right now, but I do have to let somebody know if we can do that. If we can.
We'll just cover it now, I mean, yes.
If everybody's good, is that doable for people?
You just want us to have a meeting on.
No, I want to move the 16th to the 30th. I mean, if something happens between now and then, if Patty says no, if we have a lot of business and we need to meet 3 times in April, we can. I'd prefer to move it instead of add, but okay. So let's go ahead and have the schedule updated for that. And I think our next scheduled meeting is April 2nd. Same bat time, same bat channel. Do we have any executive order or anything like that coming up? Anybody know off the top of their heads? SAU
Full
or?
board meeting.
That's in the cafeteria?
Yes.
Great. So a full, yeah. So it's a full SAU board meeting. So all of the, well, not all, but a core from each board in the SAU should be there on April 10th.
So I won't be there either.
We'll all be in there.
I'll be at the mandatory TC meeting.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
Because we
yeah.
need 12 to
Yeah, I think,
hire people.
yeah. My wife can go to that meeting while I can go to this meeting if I need to. Anything else we need to take care of?
I just have a informational item / question. Principal McCarthy, to put you on the spot for a second, can you explain the musical occurrence on the State House lawn tomorrow? I had conflicting information that it was at like 9 a.m. and then that it was in the afternoon. Sorry, okay, I know. We can continue with other items while he checks on that. Yeah.
One parent. Sitting here.
We can circle up. I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure Ashley will send out an email, so we'll be okay. And I just want to thank those of you that waited. I know it's sort of anticlimactic to wait that long, and there's not a whole lot for us to talk about anyway, but we always appreciate involvement. We're glad that you're here. We hope that people keep coming and staying involved. So with that, if there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Do we have that info? Okay, awesome.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Right, Three Rivers is excited to announce that 16 of our Pacific Forest members will be going to the State House Reform with other forces from around the state. They'll be leaving the school tomorrow, approximately around 8:15, back around 1. They'll have an opportunity to perform outside, so keep your fingers crossed for good weather tomorrow. And also get to view other schools and other forest musical programs around the state. So it's a neat opportunity for our students to show off the hard work they've done this year and their talent.
Very cool.
Thank you so much.
All right, now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor at 9:18, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.